Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm Robert Theobald. I'm a Small Business Ombudsman and Vice President of Small Business Services here at the Arizona Commerce Authority, and we're excited to have you with us for today's Small Business Bootcamp session. As I like to do, I like to have everybody post up in the chat where you're tuning in from. We like to see where around the state, and sometimes other states and even other countries, where everybody is tuning in from. So that's a fun part of kicking this off. So we got Tucson, Glendale, Gilbert, got a number from Gilbert, Mesa, Oro Valley, Rio Rico, all right, North Peoria, Wilcox, Phoenix, Tennessee, all right. Thank you I was just in Tennessee. Mesa, all right, Los Angeles. All right, we got 3 different states going on right now. Exciting. Cottonwood. Sierra Vista. Exxon, keep posting that up. We've got Lake Powell. So glad to have everybody with us. We got Casa Grande just showed up, Tucson. All right, we've got people from all over the state, and again, other states join us. We're excited about that. I'm gonna do a little public service announcement for all those people, for everybody out there that have old pictures laying around. My background picture is of Sedona, but the cool thing about it is I took this picture over 20 years ago, and it's a film picture that I scanned to digital many years ago. And so if you have some old pictures, make sure you get them scanned, or don't forget about them, because you may have some really cool pictures that you may have forgotten about. Take a look at them and share them. We got the methods to get them onto digital now, so have fun with that. Oh, we got Tubac as well. Welcome from Tubac. All right, so to start out, we like to thank our community partners. We could not do these webinars, these boot camps without our community partners. They give back of their time, their expertise. They put a lot of effort into it, and we are very appreciative for it. They all want to see small businesses succeed in Arizona and wherever you may be from. So we appreciate them very much. Those that are new to the Small Business Bootcamp, I saw some people from, we had Tennessee and Los Angeles and other areas. The Small Business Bootcamp is designed to help small businesses prepare, plan, and grow. It is our Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. webinars every week. And then we also do some workshops and lunch and learns and other events related to it. And so it creates a great opportunity. Some of the workshops are in person, some of them are hybrid, some are completely online. But we try to make them accessible to small businesses around Arizona as part of it. Now, for all the virtual bootcamp webinars and workshops and lunch and learns, we record them and we post them all in our content library. And so the content library, you can access well over 300. It's up to about 360 recorded webinars and workshops that you can access the recording along with the slide decks that were used in their handout materials that the presenters wanted to share in the content library. Again, there's no cost to access it. You can access it any time. You can share the link with others. It's a great tool available to you, and we hope you can benefit from it and use it. Additionally, the ACA has a number of other programs to support small businesses. These are just 6 of the programs. We have more, and you can find all of our programs, small business programs and others, at azcommerce.com/programs. Or if you just go to azcommerce.com, across the top, you'll see a tab that says programs. Click on that, and it will open up all the different things that we have available to support business throughout Arizona. One of the key programs I like to talk about for small businesses, for those that are looking to start or looking to expand, is our small business checklist. And you can scan that QR code with your phone and it'll take you to it. Or you can find it at azcommerce.com/small business checklist. or under the programs, you'll find it as well. But it is a checklist designed to help entrepreneurs, and again, small business owners looking to expand, identify the commonly requested licensing, registration, and compliance requirements at the local, state, and federal level. You can also find other small business resources and information to help support your business on there. And we have two ways of accessing this information. We have the actual checklist where you go into, say, the link of I'm ready to start my business, and then there will be a bunch of checks boxes you can check on to get that information, and it'll give you some very detailed information with links to state agencies, federal agencies, organizations, etc. The city information and more. Or you can all use our virtual assistant, Sally, for state and local licensing information. It's a chat bot that we have, and Sally can help with some simpler information. Sally doesn't have quite the detailed information, but can work with some quick information and get that to you. So we encourage everybody to check both of them out, play with Sally. And if you use our virtual assistant and it doesn't meet your needs, please let us know. And there's a feature in the chat to let us know that, so we can help make Sally the best possible. So some real quick updates we want to share. There's a webinar on July 24th. We're going to post in the chat the link to it, presented by the National Science Foundation. If you're a tech startup or a science STEM business, this may apply to you for the SBIR, STTR fast track opportunities. We also have the Arizona Rural Policy Forum hosted by Local First coming up on August 7th through 9th. And then on August 14th, it's Wednesday morning from 8:30 to 11, we have an in-person only workshop hosted by the ACA and the Phoenix Business Journal. And we're excited to have that session talking about generative AI and some tools to support it. So there's some upcoming information. We also try to include this information and more in our weekly emails that we send out that you'll receive if you signed up for the first time. So it's a great resource. And then we also want to mention our Small Business Digital Academy summer cohort. The applications are open and they close on July 26th. This is a 3-week course that we do cohort style. So it will be you and many other participants in a class with mentors and some curriculum to help you better understand and utilize your website, social media, e-commerce, and more. So it's a great program. We're on I believe it's our 13th or 14th cohort of this. We've been doing it for a few years, and we continue to improve it each session. So we're excited to have the summer cohort kick off soon. So with that, we have some great upcoming sessions you can see here over the next 3 weeks. A bunch of great webinars planned. We hope you can join us for them. The Empowering Cybersecurity is being brought to us by IBM, and they're experts there. So we're excited to have that partnership going on. And we're also very excited about the legal documents next week. So we hope you can join us for not just these 3, but all the upcoming sessions. We love doing these to help support small business. But we're all here for today's session. So we're going to jump into today's speaker. We have Johnny Holston. He's the founder and messaging strategist at South Mountain Messaging. He's a new presenter with us, and we're really excited to have him here. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and turn over to Johnny. And while we're doing that, just some housekeeping. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll have 2 options. One is for chat and one is for Q&A. And Johnny's going to use the chat for some interaction with the audience today. And so we want questions to go into the Q&A. If you use that way we can track those questions and make sure we get to them, or we can send them to Johnny. If we don't have time to get to all of them, we can send them over to him and he can respond. So with that, Johnny, it is all yours.
Awesome. Robert, thank you so much. Thanks, Faith. Really excited to be with you all today. This looks like a great, lively group. What I would love is for everybody to get your typing fingers warmed up, because we're going to do a short exercise here. And I would like to know, I'm going to show a series of advertisements, and I would like the group to guess, what is it that you think this business does, or the company I'm going to show you does? And this will be a little bit of a quiz. If you get all three, if you get even one of them, you might need to send me your address, because this is going to be this should hopefully be challenging. So in the chat function, get ready to just put what you think these businesses do and what you think they might be selling. And we're going to look at a few marketing examples here as we get started before we dive into the rest of the content. So here's our first one. The first example is this is on the website of a multi-million-dollar company. We're going to be friendly and block out all the branding, all the names to all these companies, because we want to be friendly to our fellow small businesses. But here's the headline. We've got responsible nutrition with natural solutions and environmental respect. What do we think this company does? I'm going to give you all 10 seconds to put in the chat. One guess per person. Okay, so we've got organic vitamins, sell food for families that is healthy, farming supplements, beef and milk. Okay, great. We've got some good examples here. This is a close, right? A lot of you picked up on one part of it. It's a vitamin company specifically for cows. So there's one example there of what people do. So a vast majority of you guessed something different. Probably 80%, 90% of you guessed something other than what it was. Kudos to the ones that guessed the right one. Now here's a second example of marketing. This is also a multi-million-dollar company. On the homepage of their website, this is a message that they're sending to their customers. Our commitment, life made easier. What is it that we think this company does? Let's get as many thoughts in the chat as possible. Okay, home appliances, frozen food, divorce lawyer, counseling, meal services, old folks home, life insurance, tools to save time, meal prep, home. Okay, lots of good ones. Lots of awesome thoughts, but nobody got it correct. And that's because this marketing message is from the same exact company that sells supplements to dairy cows. And it's the same exact message and language trying to sell the same thing, right? So we have a confusing message here from the jump that nobody got. So between these two different marketing messages of dozens of guesses, maybe 10% was able to guess accurately. This is a fun one right here. So this is a real billboard, obviously not in Arizona, but going to the beach, we've got you covered. Next, let's put in some guesses. Okay, you've got sunblock, awesome. Insurance, vacation rental, sunscreen, insurance, sunscreen, suntan lotion, cows. Okay, now you're catching on to this game. Insurance, umbrella makers. Okay, 3 more seconds. Get your guesses in there. Lots of sun, lots of insurance guesses. This is actually a bank. And it's advertising the ATMs that they have next to so I blocked out the logo because it has ATMs next to the logo, but this is a bank advertising ATMs. I guess they've got you covered if you need cash at the bank, right? And if they had added that sentence, we would have understood a lot quicker, right? And now let's do one more example here. So this one, we're going to know what they do, but this is the other example of a little of a marketing gaffe that brands often make, is they'll just put too much information on the sign. So we have these examples where there's too little and not enough and not clarity. And then we have here, which is, yes, a restaurant, which most of us are going to guess that this is a restaurant. The problem is when you're flying by on the highway going 85 miles an hour, processing all of this is nearly impossible, and saying too much, like Dora said. Absolutely spot on, Dora. And so what causes a brand or a small business or even the biggest organizations to get marketing out in the world that doesn't lead to sales and that is confusing and doesn't help grow the brand? There's a big problem that all of these brands have in common. And my guess would be nearly all of us in this room have experienced at a time, if not even today, is that no one answered this question. What should we say to make people want to buy? It's a very, very simple question. But if we don't answer this question, a lot of things are at stake, right? We might attract the wrong fit customers. If we don't have a clear message, we're going to attract the wrong fit customers. Once we do attract customers, sales and closing sales might take twice as long or even longer, depending on the industry. You have to overcome a negative marketing messaging during your sales and all your other communication. And the third is either us as individuals or our team or our whole company, we lack confidence and clarity when we're talking about what we do and we're selling our services. On the flip side, if we can answer this question of what do we need to say to make people want to buy, we get the opposite. We get ideal fit clients that are attracted to our brand. Selling becomes easier, more organic. There's more momentum because we're attracting the right kinds of people and we know what we should be saying. And then third, everybody, whether you're a one-man show or a team with dozens of people, everybody has confidence and clarity when revenue is on the line, which is critical to small businesses. We know that all too well. So Robert introduced me a little bit, but my name is Johnny. I'm the founder and messaging strategist at South Mountain Messaging. And I know firsthand how frustrating it is when marketing and sales can be the bottleneck to your success. I'm in this industry, but I own my own business myself. And so I understand how important it is when revenue is on the line and critical that we need to know how to close those deals and attract people who need our services and want to fix the problem we solve. Today, if hearing this and this kickoff has gotten your head spinning on ways you might have not figured out what to say to make people want to buy, today we're going to take a huge step in the right direction. And I'm here to hopefully get us to the point where in less than an hour, you're going to have immense clarity on what needs to be done to attract better fit customers, to close sales easier with less effort and more momentum. And then also to have a framework and a tool in your tool belt to use anytime you need to craft a strategic message or communication when revenue or your reputation is on the line. And we're going to talk about a framework today to do that. The framework that we're going to use today has been used for thousands and thousands of small businesses to help them grow sales, attract better clients. And some of you might have even heard of it before. But personally, I want to share just a few of the wins that I've helped people get with this framework so that you have confidence in spending the next 40 minutes of your time here. And hopefully you feel excited about breaking out the notepad, breaking out the Google Doc, whatever you're taking notes in, and really diving in, because the successes here are possible for your business too, no matter where you're at. If you're at day 1 or year 10 plus, you can achieve the same successes just by using the framework we're going to talk about today. So we'll start with a bigger company. This framework helped a company with 30 locations align 70 plus sales and marketing team members around a common message. So how do you get 70 people in a company to all say the same things when they're selling and marketing your brand? This framework is the answer to that. Another one, this hopefully will hit home. A family-owned business closed a $750,000 deal using this framework in their selling. And a community college, which is near and dear to my heart, the community college industry, outperformed an Ivy League school. I'm not going to put the Ivy League school on blast, but outperformed them in their email marketing because they used this framework. And what we're going to do today is help everybody here take the first step in knowing how to do the same thing. And I would love it if somebody leaves this workshop and goes in and has a similar result to this just from the time here spent today, the next 40 minutes. That's my goal. So how can you use this framework? We're going to learn about the Storybrand framework and how you can apply it to your business. There's a lot of ways you can apply the Storybrand framework. And my job and my world is spent helping brands apply the Storybrand framework in a lot of different ways. Marketing messaging is the first. Sales language is the second. Learning how to navigate a conversation. The next would be a fundraising campaign, developing a keynote, vision casting to your people, pitching a partnership, or making an internal presentation, or last but not least, navigating a high stakes one-on-one conversation. So that's all the ways you can use this framework. If you're realizing we're not attracting the right types of customers, our selling takes way too long, or we need to go raise some funds, or I have a speaking engagement coming up and I need to know what to say. The rest of this hour is going to hopefully bridge the gap between where you are today and what you should say to make people want to buy. While I switch decks, I'm going to switch over to some content now. What I would love is if everybody here, and I love the engagement in the chat so far, it's been awesome, would be willing to chime in and say what industry you're in and what it is that you sell, the problem you solve or the service that you provide. Just start hopping in there. And as I go through the content, I'm going to try the best that I can to connect the dots between one or hopefully more of those things that go in here. So we have an art gallery, keep them coming. We've got, septic services, that's awesome. Tech, legal support, that's awesome. Soil service, awesome. Cutting edge wellness tech, Western shirts, beautiful. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and switch decks and keep those coming. Newborn photographer, that's amazing. All sorts of cool stuff. Okay, and can somebody in the chat just confirm you are seeing a black screen with a logo right now, Robert? Am I looking good? Awesome. Okay, great. So thank you for that feedback, everybody. Lots of good stuff. So we've got educational and career services. What an awesome industry there. We've got, that's from Mike, from Anthony, project management solutions. Oh, that's great. I'm working with someone right now who is an external project manager, and it's so needed in so many companies. We've got tutoring, consultants, nonprofit history museum. Okay, so what we'll probably do here is I'm going to, as I go through this, try and keep in mind the various options we have here and pick a couple to really focus on. Confidence coach for teens and parents. I love that. Okay, Sharon, I really like that. And as a teen who probably could have used a little bit more confidence in my teen years, and as a parent of a young child, I would like to kind of hone in on yours, Sharon. And I'm going to try and connect some dots between this framework and what you do. Want to just go ahead and just make a disclaimer. This is any examples that I give to Sharon for her confidence coaching. This might be messaging malpractice because I have not had a chance to interview her, but I'm going to just connect some dots for everybody here, and happy to answer questions from you, Sharon, at the end of the Q&A. But we'll kind of connect the dots for someone who's a confidence coach for parents or teens. And like I mentioned, we're going to talk about the Storybrand framework today. But before we get into the nitty gritty of the framework, what we're going to do is talk about actually some brain science. And we are going to talk about the human brain and why does the brain have anything to do with what we decide to say in our sales and our marketing and any communication? And how can we leverage the way the brain was created and designed to earn the engagement of our audience? So the brain was designed to focus on two different things. Number one, information that helps it survive and thrive. Number two, it's designed to help your body conserve calories. Both of these things are survival mechanisms that go way back to our caveman days, as they might say. And it's just the way we're created to make sure we survive and thrive. We're only going to focus on things that help us survive, and we're going to do things that conserve calories because that's the way our body survives as well. Well, how does this apply to marketing? Your brand must be communicating these two things, and it must communicate how you help others survive and thrive. It also must communicate that information in a way that is as simple and clear. Someone said in the chat earlier, clarity, as simple and clearly as possible, so that the brain of your customer can conserve calories. Because as the brain is scanning information all around it, doesn't matter if it's TikTok on the phone, the news on TV, a book right in front of them, or your advertisement, the brain is scanning for what's information that's going to help me survive, and it's also scanning for brevity, information that's short and easy to understand. The reason this is so important is if we can really start to play with the way that the brain is designed, our marketing will work better, our selling will get easier. And so my question to you is your brand consistently and clearly talking about those two things? And how can you do it if you're not successfully doing it today? I'll tell you, the answer is by telling a story in your marketing. And it's not by telling the story of your brand and your company in your marketing. It's about telling a different story, which we're going to dig into today. So how can we use the power of storytelling to grow our business? And the reason we're going to talk about storytelling is because stories make sense. The brain thinks in stories. We like to talk in stories. The most exciting, engaging people at a party are often the ones telling the funniest, most exciting stories. And also the worst, most boring people to be around at parties are the ones telling the long, drawn out, not exciting stories. So stories are high stakes, but they make sense. And our brain is able to process what's a good story and what's the wrong story. And if we can start telling the right story for our customers, we're going to see a lot of success in our business. As we go through this framework, what we're going to do really is just study how a story works. So how does a story work? Stories are formulaic. All stories contain the same themes, the same people, the same outcomes, and the same connections and elements that make for a good and exciting story. And the same concepts that create a blockbuster Hollywood best performing movie in the theater can also be applied to your business to help customers be attracted to it and understand what you do, how it makes life better, and how they can be a part of your mission as well. So let's talk about storytelling. We're going to talk about the 7 key parts of a great, compelling story. And we're also going to talk about how each of these elements connects to your marketing as a business owner and as a leader in your company. The first thing that every good story has is a central character. You'll notice a couple things. When a story is good, it's very focused on one central character or one central group that is the character. And something that gets a little bit chaotic is when a movie or a story starts to focus on too many characters doing too many things. So the making of a great story starts with a character who wants something. And I like to look at the Hunger Games. The example is, let's say Katniss is our character, right? She's the central character. And what does she want? She wants to win the Hunger Games. She needs to win the Hunger Games, right? That's what she's after. If that movie was written about, okay, she's also got to train for the local 5K. She's got to find a Mother's Day gift for her mother. She also needs to find a birthday gift for her sister. And she's also planning to, well, she's going to start a small business and she wants to get focused on that. And now as we go through all these different things, we've all forgotten the original want of the story, which is that Katniss wants to win the Hunger Games, and we get sidetracked. So every great story starts with a central character that wants something. It's important not to have the character of our marketing want too many things, and we have to be very clear and call out what our customer wants. The reason this is important is because when you agitate a customer's desire, they enter into the story your brand is telling. So for a confidence coach, for teens or parents, there's 2 different characters there. And that might mean we need 2 different messages in marketing, depending on what they want. So let's focus on the teen, or let's focus on the parent, actually. Let's say the parent is, what they really want is the peace of mind that their child is, and this may not be exactly what you do, because I'm not sure if you are selling to parents for the confidence for teens coaching, but if we're selling to a parent, we might want to say, hey, we know that you want your desire is that your child is walking about life with the confidence to tackle everyday challenges and to succeed and feel equipped with the confidence to go places, right? That's what they want. That's the want for the parent, a potential want. And when we agitate our customer's desire, they enter in the story we're telling. All great stories about someone who wants something. And that's how we can start to earn the engagement of our audience. The next part of a great story is a problem. A character has a problem. So there's something standing in the way of our customer that makes it nearly impossible for them to get what they want. For Katniss, it's that she doesn't know how to win the Hunger Games, right? She has no help. She's unsure of how to do it. She feels incapable. She's kind of a badass with the bow already, but beyond that, she is not well equipped to win the Hunger Games. That's the problem. Let's go back to the confidence coaching. Maybe this is a child who they obviously lack confidence for some reason. That is a problem. Maybe there was something that happened to them that diminished their confidence. And maybe they're now walking through life with a heaviness or a timidness or a fear or an anxiety because they lack this confidence, right? Those are problems. And in all good stories, there are external problems, there are internal problems, and philosophical problems. So an external problem for a confidence coach could be, the problem is you lack confidence, right? Or you're struggling to find confidence in your life. That's the external problem. The internal problem is how that external problem makes the character feel. So that character might be feeling anxiety. They might feel fearful of stepping out into their life and have a lack of lack of motivation to do the great things they want to do because they're suffering from a lack of confidence. Those are internal problems. Then the philosophical problem is, what's the injustice associated with this problem? What things are just plain wrong, right? So for Sharon and your coaching, maybe it's, hey, we believe just because you're young doesn't mean you should lack confidence in life. Or just because you're a kid doesn't mean you can't have confidence to pursue a great life, right? Something that is philosophical and is very powerful typically. All good stories have these themes, and your marketing should as well. The reason this is so important is because if you stop talking about your customers' problems, they stop paying attention to your brand. And if we don't remember to talk about the problems we solve, that's where we're starting to not take advantage of the way the brain was designed. Because when the brain pays attention to how it's going to survive and thrive, what it's really looking for is problems that others can solve for it, or ways that it can solve a problem. And so if we communicate the problems we solve, the brain of our customer is going to be able to quickly determine whether or not we can help them survive and thrive. And that's really the core of talking about the problems we solve and the problem our customer is experiencing in our marketing. So at this point, here's where we're at in the story. We have a character with a problem. And the third part of the framework is the character with a problem meets a guide. And in all good stories, there is a guide that leads the character to success. In the Hunger Games, the guide is Haymitch, right? And Haymitch is, oh, Braxton, I see you here. Principle 1 is when you agitate your customer's desire, they enter into the story your brand is telling. When you agitate your customer's desire, they enter into the story your brand is telling. You got it. So now that brings us to part 3 of the framework, which is a character with a problem meets a guide. And in the Hunger Games, the guide is Haymitch, right? He's kind of a goofball, right? He is like a little out there. I'm pretty sure he has a drinking problem. He's just a chaotic person, but he is the guide to Katniss. And the reason why he's the guide is because he has 2 things. He has empathy towards Katniss and her position. He understands the problem she's facing, and he has the authority to teach her how to win the Hunger Games because he's done it himself. So despite all the flaws about him, he has an empathy towards her and an understanding towards her, or an authority to help her solve that problem. Empathy and authority, that's the key part of playing the guide, having empathy and authority. And so in marketing, in our businesses, who's the guide? The guide is not your customer. The character is your customer. That means the guide is you. And your customer is the hero of the story, not your brand. And so when we make our marketing about ourselves, what we end up doing is we're telling the story of us, which is making it difficult for our customer to understand how we help them survive and thrive, because we're telling our story. We're not telling the story of the customer and how we help them find success. We're not positioning ourselves as the guide. And so how do you position yourself as the guide? It's by showing empathy. So for this confidence coach, it could be something like, I remember when I was young, I really struggled to grab life by the horns because I lacked the confidence to do so. There's empathy. Or it could be, as a parent, I understand how hard it is to watch your child struggle with low confidence, right? There's empathy. Then the authority could be something to the effect of, after becoming certified in certain frameworks or starting my business as a coach, I've helped hundreds of kids and parents kids achieve more confidence, or parents help their kids achieve more confidence. Testimonials, things like that, credentials, success data, that's authority. So empathy plus authority is how to play the guide, because your customer is the hero of the story, not your brand. 2 more reasons why playing the brand is so important is because a good story, like we talked about at the beginning, can only be about one central character. And if we make it about ourselves, our customer just doesn't care to listen. It's like when you walk into a conversation at a cocktail party and you are you already know the person is just going to talk about themselves the whole time. You don't want to pay attention. Most brands do that in their marketing. Playing the guide is a very simple way to avoid making that problem. The other reason positioning your brand as the guide is so helpful is because in every story, the guide is the most trustworthy and strong character in the story. Oftentimes the central character is actually the one that transforms the most. When we think of the Hunger Games, we think of Katniss at the beginning. When she first gets selected for the Hunger Games, she is scared to death. She's weak. She doesn't know what to do. She's terrified. And so positioning our company as the weakest person in the story that needs to transform is not a good strategy. Instead, we should stay positioned as the strongest, most helpful character in the story that everybody already trusts, which is the guide. And if you can pull this off in your marketing, you're really setting a strong foundation for building trust. The next part of the framework, and it all goes fast from here, but the next part of the framework is a plan. So in all stories, we have our character with a problem who meets a guide that gives them a plan. So good guides, they don't just show up and say, hey, I empathize with your pain and I know how to fix it. What they do is they actually paint a picture of what it looks like to solve the problem. So for this confidence coach, whether you're speaking to parents or teens specifically, depends on the character, and maybe we can dive into that more in the Q&A. But what this might look like is it might say, hey, I know exactly how it feels to struggle from low confidence. I remember when I was a kid, I really felt held back by it. There's your empathy. The authority is, as I got my certifications in coaching or my degrees in certain fields, I've since coached dozens of children to success in this area. There's the authority. And you might say something like, here's how it works. First, we meet for a discovery call so I can learn exactly what got you to this point. Next, we're going to create a short-term and a long-term action plan to help get you quick wins right away when you're confident, but also transform you into a stronger, more confident person for the long term. And then step 3 is we meet together at a consistent cadence and we work together offline, on meeting and out of meeting, to make sure that you're making progress the whole way, right? That's a guide with a plan. And if our businesses aren't casting a clear picture of what it looks like to do business with us, we leave our character, the customer, with all sorts of questions like, what does it look like? What are the next steps? What can I expect? What's the process like? And the goal is, in our marketing, if we can have a plan for them, it lifts the fog. A plan lifts the fog for our customers. And ideally, you can have a 3 or maybe a 4-step plan, depending on what you do. I always encourage brands, squeeze to 3-step plans. The brain thinks in 3. That's why we remember 911. That's why we remember stop, drop, and roll. We think in 3s. So if we can get your customer to think in 3s and understand your plan for them, you're very close to the sale. And if you've been speaking to the right character, naming the right problems, positioning yourself as the guide, it's smooth sailing from there. So this is the 4th principle. Your customer needs an easy step-by-step plan to move forward, or else they won't move forward at all. There needs to be sorry, I got distracted there from the chat there for a second. We're going to get to your questions here at the end, and that was a great question. So I'm going to stop myself from answering it now, and we'll answer it at the end. But the customer needs an easy step-by-step plan to move forward, or else we won't move forward at all. It's like when we find a brand or a business we want to do work with, but there's no information on what it looks like to work together, we don't know what to do next. And depending on what we have going on in our day-to-day lives, maybe someone gives us a call, maybe we have another appointment to go to, or maybe we just want to scroll social media on our phones. If our marketing doesn't communicate what happens next and what the next steps are, then we leave people with an easy choice to make, and that's just to go to the next thing that they can and disengage with our marketing. So your customer needs an easy step-by-step plan to move forward. So I would challenge you, think, what are the 3, maybe 4 steps you take all customers through? There's your plan. The next step in this framework is a call to action. So we have a character meets a guide, or a character with a problem meets a guide who gives them a plan and calls them to action. This is very simple, right? This is what is required for your customer to put skin in the game. If we're using this framework for marketing, it could be as simple as book a call or contact or register or buy now if we have e-commerce. But then for sales, it could be a different call to action. It might be signing a contract, making a deposit, scheduling your service, things like that, that put the customer in a position to put skin in the game. And it gets them to take a step forward. And ultimately, that is the yes or no that they can either follow or decline in regards to your plan and working with you as a brand. So this is similar to the 3-step plan. We need to call people to action clearly, because unless we clearly call people to take action, they won't take action. Even if we have a great plan and great marketing, but we don't tell people what to do next, don't assume they're going to know what to do next. And there's a lot of other things to move forward to and spend our time doing. If we don't make it easy for a customer to put skin in the game and move forward, they're going to move on and find either another brand that does, or they are going to just forget about you altogether. So here we are, we have our character, we have a problem. They meet a guide who gives them a plan and calls them to action. And for the confidence coach, maybe your call to action, it's either fill out this contact form and tell me about your situation so I can reach back out. Or it might be as simple as book a free coaching call, book a free consult, whatever your sales process is, that would be a call to action. And now we have the end of the story, right? So we're getting to hopefully the climactic scene really is a call to action. Is our character going to trust what the guide is saying and accept their call to action and follow their plan? Because if they do, there's success on the other side. And this is very simple. This is, what does life look like for your customers after they do business with you? Think back to what people are saying in your testimonials. What does life look like in the short term? So meaning immediately, but also what does life look like in the long term, right? So in my business, short-term success is my customers know what to say in their marketing. That's the short term. The long-term success is more sales, better marketing, longer growth, right? There's immediate success and there's long-term success. So what do you do for your customer that provides immediate wins that you should be marketing? And then what can you promise them that are long-term successes? So for the coach, the confidence coach, it could be the immediate win might be, hey, having somebody in your corner to coach you through your life as you build your confidence. That's the immediate success. But the long-term success is a more fulfilling, more exciting, more rewarding life as you step forward with confidence, right? There's two different types of successes. It's important to talk about both. That is if our customer accepts our call to action and finds success, because customers want us to cast a vision of what their life can look like. They use our products or services. If our message is clear, we're talking to the right character, we're talking about the correct problems, we're positioning ourselves as a guide, we're giving the right plan for our customer, we give them a call to action that they accept. Our customers, they would just want some affirmation. They want to know, yes, your life can look like this. And this is where we've got to be ethical, right? We just think back, what can we bank on? What can we guarantee and promise? This doesn't mean you have to make an actual money back guarantee, but thinking through, what can you put your stake and your flag in the ground for as a success you are willing to commit to helping your customers find? That's success. That's the next talking point. And then the unfortunate side of this story is if the character doesn't accept the call to action, there will be failure. And this is important because at the end of the day, if there are no consequences for not doing business with you, there's no reason to not do business with you, or there's no reason to do business with you. And this goes back to how the brain is wired. If we're not communicating the problems associated with our product and service, there's just no reason the brain should pay attention to us. What failure are we saving people from? And just like the success, what immediate failure and long-term failure are we helping people work through as it relates to our product and service? Really having those talking points mapped out is important. And this is another example of being ethical, right? We don't want to fearmonger. We don't want to say things that aren't true of a failure or an issue that could happen for a customer. But the way I view it is, if we all are in business to solve a problem for somebody else, and we can deliver on solving that problem, and we can do it in a way that it creates an immense amount of success for our customer base, then we have the obligation to tell people what we're saving them from. and to let them know, oh yes, if this problem doesn't get solved, it often looks like this for customers, or we've seen a lot of people experience this when they don't act now, or when they don't work with us, they experience this. That's okay. And oftentimes I think small businesses struggle to be clear about that. And it's very important to be clear about that. My question now to you is the story you tell clear and compelling? And if you had to score yourself on whether or not you are checking all these boxes consistently in your marketing, how does that look like? Is there an area you're weak? Is there an area you want to get better? And this framework can apply to all communication, marketing, selling, conversations, speaking. It's all about there being a character and a guide in any communication, and making sure that anytime you're the one with the message, you're playing the guide. So to help us get the wheels turning, and I'm looking at time here, we'll wrap up here in just a minute. We'll have a little time for Q&A. And this has been so fun. I hope everyone their wheels are turning in encouraging ways, not because you feel bad that your marketing messaging may be unclear, but because you have a tool and a framework to fix it. And this next slide, this next portion we'll work through real quickly, will give you the right questions to ask to arrive at your clear message. So these are the questions, right? This is anytime I take a company through this framework, all discussion starts with these questions right here. And the first is, what lofty aspirations do your customers have, and what do they need to get there? And so for the confidence coach, let's say we're speaking to a team. The lofty aspiration that team might have is they just want to feel comfortable and confident in their everyday life. And what do they need to get there? Someone to help them increase their confidence, right? So they have a lofty aspiration. This is what we call an aspirational identity. Who does our character want to become? And what do they need to get there? Oftentimes, the tip I like to give for this second question on there, for what do they need to get there, it's something, what would your customer Google to find you? What would they, and if you're not in an industry where there's a lot of Googling going on, what might they ask a friend or colleague of theirs for a referral on? The next question is, what problems are standing in their way of getting those things? So what aspirations and wants do our customers have, and what problems are standing in the way of getting those things? Think external. What is literally standing in the way? Internal. What feelings and emotions does that problem cause for them? And then philosophical. What's your approach to solving this problem? What injustice is there? Next, how can you empathize with your customer's pain and display authority to solve their problem? How can you feel their pain and solve it with your authority? There's playing the guide. Next, what is your process or plan to solve their problem? So what does it look like? Lift the fog, make it very visual. What call to action should your customers follow to start your plan? So book a call, contact, call now, buy now. What does it look like? And then the last two questions, what will life look like for your customers after you solve their problem? Both tomorrow and a year from now, 6 months from now, however long-term you want to go. And the final question is, what will life look like if their problem never gets solved at all? And there's some industries where you have to be careful with this. Education, career stuff. We don't ever want to say anything that would condemn our customer, but we want to remind them of the problems they may continue to suffer from. So there's a few ways to apply this, and this is where we'll wrap up. You can go to mystorybrand.com. I'm certified in the Storybrand framework, but I won't see it if you do this. You just go to mystorybrand.com. It's not connected to my business, but it's a great boilerplate to start to map out your message. There's some videos for each one, and you can start to get clear immediately by working through this. What I like to recommend is start by using the framework to craft a marketing message. Then if you have sales teams or you are selling, use the framework to think of a way to navigate the sales conversation with those talking points, right? So with marketing, you're talking one to many, but with selling, you're probably talking one to one. So if you're getting someone with a clear marketing message, now it's time to make a more clear one-on-one message by viewing this framework as a selling framework. And also anything that produces revenue, this is the framework you should use. Step 3, be disciplined. Stick to your message. Messaging is a muscle, and so you've got to practice it. You've just got to practice it over and over again, and that's the best way to do it. At the end of the day, if we confuse, we lose. So if you confuse your customer, like the ads we saw at the beginning of today, And I hope none of us are that egregious, but if we confuse, we're going to lose leads, lose revenue, lose an opportunity to make an impact and grow our business and provide for our families and the families of our employees. And that's my closing thought today, guys. This has been so fun. I've loved the engagement in the chat, and this is some information. So if you would like those discussion questions, I can email them to you, or you want to talk to me individually, here's some information. I also have a longer workshop every quarter that's completely free, and you can sign up for that. It's on my website as well. So Carl, I'm glad to see it's going to help you. I'd love to see you at the free workshop in September. And with that, turn it over to the Q&A. Robert, I can leave the screen up if you're okay with that while we do the Q&A, but what's the next steps here? Should I just dive in? You want to go?
Yeah, we can dive into the Q&A right now. We got a few minutes to do this. We have a couple questions from Curtis. Says, if I heard you correctly, the guide is the person who changes the most. Can you give an example? I'm a bit confused.
If I flip flop to my yes, so if I might have mixed up my words there, but the guide is actually the one who changes the least. So if we think of your brand, they're the ones that are steady and strong. Your customer is the one changing the most. We're helping them solve a problem and transform. So in a story, the guide is trustworthy because they don't change. And the character, the hero, is weak usually at the start of the movie or the books or the story. So they are weak. We don't want to be positioned as the one that changes. We want to be steadfast. That's the logic there for that first question.
All right. The next one says, can you share a few websites of specific companies that does story branding well?
Yeah. So what you should do is you can, this is the fastest way to answer this. You could Google best Storybrand website examples, or if you shoot me an email there, I'll send you like my 5-6 favorites that I've done. And that's what I can do. But a couple to look at would be coattherockies.com. That's a floor coating company that I did a while ago. That's a very good one. And then shoot me an email or just Google. You'll find tons of examples. My own website as well. I do practice what I preach.
All right, we got another one. There are typically roadblocks that keep potential clients from buying. Money, not the right fit for some reason, timing, need to consult, etc. Do you make an effort in story branding framework to deal with these issues, or is this more part of the sales process?
So typically in the framework, if you're attracting, so if something's the wrong fit, there might be an issue with you're speaking to the wrong character want or the wrong aspirational identity, which is attracting people who aren't a great fit. The other thing is throughout that framework, you oftentimes squash Q&A or squash FAQs through like the 3-step plan. So when you run into things like, oh, I need to go talk to my partner or my significant other, or oh, I need to do XYZ, or this isn't a good fit. Sometimes it comes down to the plan isn't clear and easy enough to understand. And so I would start there, look at your 3-step plan, make sure you're speaking to the right character. Don't try to speak to everybody. Just speak to your ideal customers. And then in selling, you can use the same framework, the same tools to guide a conversation.
Excellent. Well, that's all. We had another question pop in. Let's see. Should there be any overlap in story for B2B versus B2C selling?
Great question. And that's a very popular one. And I'm going to type my email in the chat. Someone asked for me to do that real quick. So I'll put that in there and I'll answer your question. Now with B2B and B2C, you're still speaking to a character with a problem. So I would look at who's that character. Is it a leadership team? There might be a few people in that character bucket. So is it let's say you're an executive coach. You're selling to the C-suite. So that's the character. That's the B2B. Or it could be there's an example of B2B where for the B2C, you're selling to like a homeowner. That's one person who owns the home. Could be an example. This works. There's a whole, if you Google Storybrand, J.J. Peterson doctoral thesis, there's an entire doctoral thesis based on this framework. And there's data that suggests there's zero decline in effectiveness, whether B2B or B2C. The only variable in the effectiveness is how much you apply the framework. So how deep you go with it and how many places you put it. But Great question there. There's really no changes other than getting clear on who your character is.
You mentioned places to put it. We have probably time for one last question.
Sure.
The great one I just noticed in the chat, and it says, in social media posts, would you take people through all 7 steps or just give them a tip or technique?
Great question. So what I would do is make sure you cover your bases on your website and other content with all parts of the framework. So have it go through in order. But for social media, you might think of the framework as a 7 chords that play a song. And in some songs, you're going to play 2 chords. In other songs, you're going to play all 7 chords. Social media is an example where you might do problem chord and call to action, right? So you might not try to do all of it. That's too busy, but talk about the problems your customer faces and then the call to action. So you can do little tidbits here and there.
Excellent. Thank you. Great questions. We appreciate everybody sharing these. So we do have time. We're going to do one more from the Q&A. It says, as a consultant, how would you attract the right section of your target market to purchase and be engaged for a vegan or organic cosmetic skincare ebook?
It would depend a little bit on the problems. So I would say for people who want that thing, what are they aspiring to become, and what problems are standing in the way of that? How does that ebook and that product solve those problems? So I would need to dig a little bit deeper on that. I think talk about the problems they're experiencing and then position those resources as the solution, much like you would your service and your product. Just position those lead magnets as the solution, the short-term solution.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, we're right up against time. Johnny, I want to thank you. That was an awesome presentation. There's a lot of great feedback in the chat as well. We appreciate all of our attendees participating through the chat with the questions and the feedback. Again, Johnny, we're grateful for you being with us today and sharing this presentation. And just to remind everybody, the recording and the slide deck will be available in the content library later today or tomorrow for you to access. So we hope you can see it there. And then we hope everybody can join us next week for our next boot camp session. Until then, everybody have a great week, and we hope to see you soon. Thank you.